If you stopped speaking to keep the peace, if you became the dependable one, the steady one, the one who didn't need very much, if you learned how to read a room before you ever learned how to read yourself, if you don't fully trust your desires anymore, or you quietly question whether you're allowed to even want the things that you want, this video is for you. And before I say anything else, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. Nothing went wrong with you. You didn't miss a step, and you didn't fail some inner test. What you're experiencing is what happens when a woman learns that in order to survive, she needs to become quiet. And I want to say this gently. Becoming quiet was never a weakness. It was wisdom at the time. Your nervous system was learning what kept you safe. Your heart learned what kept connection intact, and your voice learned that it was better sometimes to just wait. But survival is not the same thing as thriving. It's not the same thing as self-actualization. And eventually, staying quiet starts to hurt. Most of the women that I work with think that they've lost their purpose. They say things like, I used to know who I was. I don't even know what I want anymore. I feel invisible in my own life. But purpose doesn't disappear. It doesn't just vanish. It goes quiet when it hasn't felt safe enough to exist. Many women learned, and often very early, that being easy was rewarded. Having needs creates tension. Asking for more? That feels selfish. Speaking honestly leads to conflict. So they adapted. They became agreeable, capable, emotionally intuitive, very low maintenance. And slowly, without even realizing it, adaptation turned into self-erasure, into turning invisible. And not dramatically and never all at once. It's just in 1,000 small moments where you chose harmony over honesty, connection over clarity, belonging over being. Just take that in for a second. And then one day you wake up and you ask, who am I really? What do I want? And why am I so tired just trying to be okay? Here's the reframe that changes everything. The problem is not that you don't know your purpose. The problem is that your voice has been protecting you. Your silence was never failure. It was strategy. But what once kept you safe may now be the very thing that's keeping you stuck. This is why I created what I call the Voice Protocol. It's not self-help. It's not a personality upgrade, but it's a return. It's a way to come home to yourself without forcing, fixing, or performing. Voice is an acronym for the 5 fundamental steps to finding your voice, and it begins with V for value. Everything starts here. Before confidence, before clarity, before purpose, value, worth, self-worth. Not the kind that has to be earned, definitely not proven, and it never has to be justified. It's simply remembered. So many women are trying to build a life on top of a question mark. Do I really matter? Voice work begins by settling that question, not just intellectually, but emotionally. You don't find your voice until you start to believe that it actually deserves to exist. O is for openness. Openness is not oversharing. It's not opening up and letting all the raw stuff out in front of everybody. No. It's creating enough internal safety to listen to yourself without judgment. Listen, you can't hear your voice if every thought is immediately corrected, minimized, or dismissed. Most women are such harsh managers of their own inner voice. Openness says, what if nothing inside of me is wrong? What if my feelings are information, not problems? This is where self-trust begins. Openness is where you start to realize that there are new possibilities and new ways of seeing things. And it actually, even though it might be a little bit scary, feels really good. And then we come to I for intentional action. Intention by itself, well, maybe you've heard them say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Likewise, action, a lot of action with very little intention just leads us running in circles and maybe getting nowhere. Action is where most women think that they need to start, but it's actually where everything comes together. It's where everything integrates. Intentional action. It's not big leaps. It's not blowing up your life or even metaphorically killing it at the gym. It's small, honest actions that say, I matter enough to listen to myself and to respond to myself. It might look like setting a boundary, a pause, a nice, clean no, or a very real yes. to yourself. Intentional action turns worth from simply theory to actual lived experience. Next, we have C for clearing. And this is where we stop surviving and we start designing. First, we clear away emotional residue, clearing old rules, obligations that no longer fit, clearing identities that were built to be palatable, to be acceptable to everyone else, definitely not authentic. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing what isn't you anymore. Finally, we have E for expression. Expression is not loudness, it's alignment. It's your outer life matching your inner self, quietly or boldly, depending on who you are. Expression might look like speaking, or choosing, or creating, or resting. It's your life becoming a reflection of your inner self again. It's your life becoming a reflection of who you really are at the core. When a woman reconnects to her voice, things change. And not in a dramatic social media type of way. A woman who has found her voice doesn't become harsh. She doesn't become selfish. She doesn't lose her softness. She becomes anchored. And from that anchored place, relationships shift. Boundaries start to form naturally. Confidence becomes calm. Decisions feel cleaner. And life feels lighter. And not because change was forced, but because that woman stopped abandoning herself. And when you stop abandoning yourself, your life begins to reorganize around the truth of who you are. If you're starting from zero, from a place of invisibility, or even where people might be calling you a mute, as they once called me, I want you to know that that's okay. Zero is honest. Zero is fertile. And zero means you are listening. I've created a space for women who are ready to start hearing themselves again, without pressure, without performance, and definitely without fixing. This is just a place where your voice is welcome. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need clarity, and you don't need a 5-year plan. You just need space where your inner world is allowed to speak up. If this resonates, you're not too late. Actually, you're right on time.